The warden has been taken hostage. Free him no matter what the cost.
Hello and welcome to a look at a Jailbreak for the Commodore 64, an arcade conversion of a Konami original done by Konami themselves actually, or a team working in their name. The premise is that the jail has experienced a jailbreak and the warden has been taken capture, or taken hostage I think it's called, and your job is to go out and rescue him, defeating bad guys in the process and rescuing other hostages, or having them shot by the bad guys. Different hostages once rescued will give you access to a new weapon. You start with your pistol and then get access to a shotgun and later on a rocket launcher. Perfectly natural arsenal and a police officer's equipment, I suppose. I don't know, I'm not a copper. I have a clue. I should preface this by saying that I used to love this arcade. It is quite difficult, but I found it very enticing for whatever reason, and I probably spent enough money on the arcade to buy this game 6 or 7 times over. But of course, this is the Commodore 64 version of the arcade, and you know what, let's talk graphics and sound. The graphics are perfectly fine. I actually, to a certain point, find them quite enjoyable. Not arcade perfect by no means, but no one expects that from a Commodore 64 game. But you can see that the bad guys are bad guys, and the hostages are hostages, and the copper is a copper. The backgrounds are a bit messy, but I can endure that. It is not the center of attention, so I'd have no issues with that at all. The music is nice, but loops relatively quickly, so it becomes extremely repetitive after a while, and frankly a bit annoying. Each their own, of course. The sound design, because of course you cannot play the game with music and sound effects at the same time, so that's why I'm showcasing both. It's serviceable. What can I say? It's a bit flat, but it does what it has to do. It's nothing exceptional, nothing crap. The controls are as you would expect them to be. When you move right, or when you push the joystick right, the copper moves right, left, it moves left, and so on and so on. There's something that I find extremely frustrating about this game is the fact that there's no diagonal shooting at all. You have left, right, up, down, and that's it. I can't remember whether that's possible in the arcade version, but what I do know is that it makes the gameplay quite frustrating, and of course you have to cover the gameplay because that is the meat of any game. I so want to like this game, I so want to like this version, and there's a part of me that really likes the version, but at the same time it has some gameplay issues that makes it extremely hard to consider to be a great game. It definitely has the makings of a great game, but the problem is that it has completely and utterly ruins any potential enjoyment. It did for me. Someone else might be able to endure the agony. I found it frustrating in the long run. Because you don't have access to any form of diagonal shooting, you have to move yourself on the same gameplay level as the bad guys, and of course that means that if you can shoot them, they can shoot you. Which is, it's not a thing that's unique to this game, that happens in a lot of games, but the problem is the shot speed compared to your character's movement speed. It just often feels like you just don't get enough time to respond. Hit detection can be a bit strange, I would say. It can be very, very hard to identify what is a safe location for yourself and what is not a safe location for yourself. The bad guys, sometimes you hit them and sometimes you don't. I would say that in favor of the game, 90% of the time it's on point and 10% of the time it isn't. And when it isn't on point, it can be rather frustrating. The guys coming out of the manhole covers to shoot at you, for instance, seem to have a very different area in which they hit you compared to the ball and chain dragging bad guys. The weapons available, you have 3 different weapons, but there's a slight graphical difference on the main character, but the shot type doesn't change. All shots look exactly the same. I mean, he looks a bit mean when he runs around with the rocket launcher, but it would be nice if the shot would be a bit more dramatic. As you probably noticed, if you shoot a hostage, or sorry, civilian, in the code, or the bad guy shoots a civilian, you use one weapon type. And sometimes the bad guys will try to shoot at you and you are avoiding the shot, and then some civilian enters the screen, gets hit, and then you lose a weapon. Another minor frustration point is the fact that the points you are awarded for shooting a bad guy is a sprite, which means of course that it will absorb shots, both yours and the bad guys, which is both good and bad, but mainly frustrating. Because of course if your shot takes out the point marker thing, then the bad guy's shot would come through and hit you. There's nothing inherently wrong with the game as such, but the issues it has makes it, for me, impossible to enjoy. On that note, thanks for watching, take care, see you next time, bye bye for now.